Hello and welcome to a Week 14 edition of the NFL Pool Show, aka Establish the Pools. My name is Adam Levitan. As always, joined by Mark Dankenbring and a man who still has an entry left in the big DraftKings Survivor, Peter Jennings. Start with you, Mark. How's it going?
It's going well. Great to have you back, Adam. I think Pete and I did an okay job last week without you, but the production skills are definitely a little lacking. But yeah, things are good. Our NBA props team has been on fire recently. As you mentioned, Peter avoided the Raiders, pitfall last night in Survivor. So feeling good over here.
NBA props team is completely out of control. Mark actually has no cock left. I know you guys can't see it in the screen, but Mark has no cock left from grinding during NFL and NBA season. Peter, we'll talk about the Survivor when we get there, but I mean, like, nobody's really gotten eliminated while I was gone. There's still a lot of people left, but still live for $1 million. How do you feel?
Yeah, one person got eliminated last week. They took the Texans over the Browns, trying to go the old contrarian opposite way. Almost had a lot of teams eliminated, though. 27% on the Seahawks, and then almost 5% on the Bucks. That was a pretty miraculous win for the Buccaneers. I was pretty tilted about that game. Had the Bucks -3 and was rooting for them to either cover or lose, and of course got that bad middle. But yeah, basically the best thing going for me is all the season long stuff. Can't win in GPPs, so I need to bank either the Survivor, the Pick'em, or a best ball draft. So
yes, best ball, man. Almost makes you feel happy to be alive. Just like scroll the best ball teams and see like a healthy one that's going to advance. Like, oh baby, there's nothing like it.
So good.
This is really a great time this week. Anyways, I am still alive in the DraftKings pool, though I am pretty buried. I'm pretty far back. I have to go super contrarian the rest of the way. I think Peter has some stuff closer to the top. Mark, how are you doing in the DraftKings Pick'em pool?
I'm doing okay. I keep kind of racking up 3 and 2 weeks, so I'm still like lower, 60% in my better one. So I'm hanging on, but yeah, not climbing up the rankings too much.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of things that I think people are going to condense on this week because, as you see, at least as of now, we don't have very many big line moves. So I'm actually like looking for places where everybody is going to be on one side so I can be on the other side. I just don't really see it this week at all. Peter, how is your strategy looking for DraftKings Pick'em pool going into this week?
Yeah, I'm in an interesting spot. I went 5-0 on almost all my teams last week. So have 6 teams in the top 100 that are all cashing. My worst is 61%, best is 71.7. So pretty live, but now it's getting interesting. There's one other person who's actually winning. And I should have pulled it up. It's like something 555 or whatever is like first, third, 10th, 15th. So it's a pretty packed leaderboard of a couple people doing similar things. So it's getting interesting. I don't think I'm going to pivot a ton this week. Last week I did take things that were, I was expecting the line to move more, like San Francisco. Took some stuff that I actually bet as well. So last week went well, but yeah, this is a really challenging week, and scared for some regression. And I guess my question to you guys, and for some other people that might be in a similar spot, if you have a bunch of teams kind of grouped in the same area, is now the time to really start differentiating a lot of your picks?
Yeah. I think yes. I think that if you felt really strongly about 1 or 2 or 3 of them, having them on all of them is fine. But I don't see how this week you could really feel that strongly unless you were IKBing it, right? Like the biggest edge that we have here is 8%. I don't even really like the Eagles that much. I'm definitely going to be taking the Giants. I need to be contrarian, and I see the line move here. I kind of like the Giants in this spot, assuming Saquon ends up playing. But I think you should be rotating through on some stuff, right? It's so top heavy. The whole idea is to like get one team through to the top, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's $250K to first. I mean, there's prizes. Like 12th is paying like five some thousand right now. So it's not like you don't want to go completely off the wall, but yeah. And I think if you're in the, 6, like where for me, I'm going to get really contrarian now is this team that's like 61% or whatever. Like I'm going to start hammering those teams in a pretty big way with some contrarian stuff. I think low 60s based on where everything is now is not going to get it done. I think to cash, you're going to need to be 65% plus. And I think to win, you're going to need to be 70% plus. The winner right now is at 75%.
75% is so insane. Even with the stale line, 75% is absolutely insane. Yeah, I'm a little tilted because now that I'm looking at this, some of this stuff that I liked, I thought might be contrarian, but it doesn't look like it's going to be because the line move. I thought Chargers home as a 3.5-point dog to the Dolphins was good. And I also thought Jets was at least interesting. And that one seems pretty neutral here. Jets -2 as the line got pushed out to 10. And so that's kind of a key number. Maybe not many people will take the Jets. But I do think that, one thing we've seen with the Bills is like they're not keeping their foot on the gas like they used to. I mean, they used to be up by 20, 30 points on teams, still be really aggressive, downfield throwing. We have not seen that. We've also seen their pass rate over expectation really dive since Josh Allen's UCL issue. I think it's pretty hard to throw on the Jets. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of stuck with a runnish game plan here against the Jets. So, I think Jets, Chargers, Giants were ones that stuck out to me. Oh, and I think Seattle too. I don't know what you guys think about Seattle. This line is so insulting, man. I mean, Seattle gets no respect. None. The Panthers going across the country, and Seattle's only 3.5 against the Fighting Sam Darnolds. And I get that the line is moving. I mean, 4.5 to 3.5. I don't know. I'm gonna ask David Dow about that when we're doing the pool show here a little early this week. David Dow is taking a little trip, so you guys can see what David Dow say about that. But I thought that was surprising. Mark, any thoughts on Seattle game or anything else?
Yeah, the Seattle stuff has been interesting the last 2 weeks because there's kind of a, obviously we came into the season not valuing them super highly, thought they were going to be a horrible team. And then they come out playing well. It seemed like the market kind of lagged on them for a few weeks. So, was confidently betting the Seahawks in the middle of the season. And then the last 2 weeks, they were just 3.5-point favorites against the Raiders, lost that game in overtime. And then we were all a little surprised, that the line wasn't bigger on the road against the Rams, kind of end up squeaking that out. So, I think their defense has come down to earth a little bit. They've been relying on a lot of strong rookie play. So I'm not sure if they're kind of hitting the wall there, if other opposing offenses are figuring them out. It certainly seems like a bit of a short line, but from, going from -4.5 to -3.5 doesn't signal to me too much confidence in the Seahawks at this point. So I don't have a great feel there. I do think in that game without Kenneth Walker expected to play, I do think Geno is going to throw, continue to throw a lot. And I like the passing game and kind of how that sets up against the Panthers. So I think that is, decent if you want to be contrarian, but certainly the last few weeks have gotten me off the Seahawks a little bit.
Yeah, I get it. David has been a Seahawks hater. A lot of the, underlying metrics on Seattle are not great, similar to the Vikings stuff. I know the Vikings have become like the hot button issue for sharps versus square. How can the 10-2 Vikings be a 2-point dog to the Lions, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that one's interesting, but Seattle, I think, would be one of my favorite contrarian ones. Peter, anything you think for the non-contrarian folks, maybe people who are at clear the top of their pool, any of these stick out to you here with the line moves?
Well, I think you'll get an interesting take from David Dow on the Chargers game. I think that the Dolphins actually make sense here. We'll see. The big key there is Armstead, who sounds like he's going to play. I mean, this is such an important player for them. It's concerning. How well he'll play is certainly up in the air. So that's something to watch. Obviously, you have the Mike Williams thing, which I do think is important for the Chargers. It'll be fun to see the Chargers with their weapons back. So I don't know. That's a tough one. From what I can gather from David Dow and just the Deck Prism stuff, I think there's more of a Dolphins lean there, but you can hear that for yourself when you talk with him. Outside of that, it's pretty tricky here. I mean, Jacksonville's steaming. Is that just because we expect Lawrence to play?
No,
like that's
they just listed him questionable, but I don't think anybody
a
really
reasonable
knows.
move. I mean, I guess the market opened with him maybe potentially missing. Is why this happened.
I'm not sure. I don't think Traylen's going to be back either for this game, which I think hurts their like explosive ability too. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the Titans ruled out some key defenders as well. Danico Autry is out. David Long is out. Those are two of their key guys in the front seven. And then Adam mentioned Treylon Burks is out. We've really seen Derrick Henry struggle the last month. He's down to like 2.8 yards per carry, and so I'm interested to see how that balances out against this Jags team, who I think he's averaged like 160 yards against them or something in the last few games. But I think it's mostly injury related from the Titans side, and then Lawrence, it looks like he's going to play.
Yeah. Okay.
The IKB that I want, that I'm so scared to say, The IKB to me is this 49ers team. I get it. And I think Purdy's terrible. But this 49ers team is so freaking good outside of quarterback. I mean, Garoppolo is not a good quarterback. That's the spot that I'm maybe most interested to IKB, but man, that's a big downgrade at quarterback.
Yeah, the line movement's not even bad. Like, yeah, it's -5%, but a little bit of juice moved on 3.5. It's not that big a deal. And honestly, like, that's another thing that I'm going to ask David out about is like, I understand that there's different ratings for each quarterback. However, when you downgrade a quarterback for San Francisco, that's not the same as downgrading a quarterback for Kansas City, right? Like, you downgrade a quarterback for San Francisco, it's not that big a deal. And I thought Purdy actually played reasonably well last game, considering he came in cold. And yeah, when you have those guys, like, yeah, I like San Francisco too. Tampa is no bueno.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa got so lucky to win that game, and I mean, San Francisco. If you remove quarterback, I think they're the best team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Agreed there. Yeah. The two IKBs I had listed were Jets plus 9.5, as Adam talked about last week on the show, kind of talked about trying to be on them until the market, fully corrects with Mike White as QB. And I think they deserved to win that game against the Vikings, just couldn't punch it into the end zone there. So settled for a lot of field goals. And, at the end had a chance to win it. Braxton Berrios with a crucial drop there. So I think that I was surprised this number is so big and has moved to 10. So I do kind of like the Jets there. And then I also had the Dolphins -3.5 as one I like. That defensive line going up against the Chargers offensive line is one of Brandon Thorne's biggest mismatches this week. And so I think if the Dolphins can build a lead, we've seen the Chargers offensive line consistently struggle this year. So I think that could be an issue for them.
By the way, first of all, when you have a nickname like Big Cock Brock, are you really a downgrade? Second of all, I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of Tom Brady's new alleged girlfriend. He is cooking with gas again, baby. Okay.
That's the least surprising thing ever. I mean,
he is back. He is back.
Of course, Brady's going to get whatever he wants. I mean, come on.
He's cooking with some serious gas. Okay. Anyways, let's get to Survivor. So we already talked about it a little bit. There's 253 out of 13,000 left in the DraftKings Survivor that Peter's still in. I'm out. Mark is out. Last week, like, no one lost. 49% had Cleveland against Houston, which got 3 defensive touchdowns, whatever. The Rams-Seattle game, man, like 29% had Seattle. Rams almost won that game. I mean, really almost won that game. And that would have made a big difference. 9% had Dallas. I think a lot of people probably had the Raiders last night in that game, which obviously would be good for Peter, who did not use the Raiders. So why don't you tell the people about your strategy for this week? Still alive in Survivor.
Yeah, it was a tough call. It was basically a two-game parlay that I was debating just with the options left. It was either Raiders this week with the Bills next week against Miami. I think Buffalo's going to be contrarian either way, or go Buffalo this week and then the Vikings next week, which, oh man, next week does not feel good.
Who do the Vikings play next week?
Colts at home.
Yeah.
So they're they'll be a 5.5, 6 point. They won't get to a touchdown favorite, but they'll be 5.5, 6 points. But man, I think this Vikings team is super overrated. The markets have caught up on the Vikings. You're seeing the Lions as a slight favorite here, or if you look at the money line, I think the Lions are the favorite. So, I mean, that doesn't feel great, but I'm happy I have the Bills and didn't go with the Raiders, just being results oriented. And that's kind of what swung it. I like the Rams. We bet the Rams last week. We bet the Rams last night as well. So
my God, what a backdoor.
Oh, the backdoor last night was spread and money line was quite nice.
Wow.
Yeah. It was nice to be on the right side. It was better than the Buccaneers game, which was pretty ugly. So I think the Rams are just, a team we're going to pick on, but they're still got some good players. We'll see who ends up coming back. It sounds like Donald will probably miss most of the year. Obviously Stafford's out, but I mean, if Baker can play even half as good as he played last night, they got some players that they shouldn't be as big of a dog as, say, like the Texans. I think the Texans are still the clear team to pick on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I understand what happened last night. I still think the Rams are just like so bad. And man, they have like the worst.
Do you think they're worse than the Texans?
No, probably not. But I mean, yeah, no, I don't. But they're both like the same. They're both like completely incompetent. No wide receivers, no offensive line. Like,
Well, I think it's a really important conversation because I'm gonna have to take teams against the Rams again. I plan on taking the Chargers versus the Rams in Week 17, and Week 18. As of now, if things play out the way I expect them to, I'd be taking Seattle versus the Rams. So, and I think a lot of people that are left, you've used all the good teams. Now it's just like, please God, who's playing the Texans or the Rams? Is there anyone else that you guys would be really trying to pick on at this point in time?
I think Atlanta is probably in that like bottom tier that you could go against. You know, they're going to start Desmond Ridder out of the bye, which I think adds a little more uncertainty there. But you know, I think that would kind of be the next team to pick on. I know next week, you know, they play the Saints coming out. Saints are at home, and so you know, like I would assume you have the Saints left if you don't want to go Vikings. Vikings seems okay there, but. And then the Colts, I think, you know, probably another team just to pick on with their offensive issues.
Yeah, and people were picking on Carolina before, and I think part of the we talked about it. Carolina has a good defensive line, and they have some good line of scrimmage players, so they're not a horrendous team. I mean, they're not good. I'm not trying to say that, but they're not in the same category as the teams we just listed off, in my view.
Well, and I also think Darnold
has been playing well.
Is better than Baker. I mean, so yeah, that was an upgrade for them there as well. All right.
Last week, one, if you have the Titans left, they have. I mean, you can just see some of these spots. They get the Texans. Almost no one has the Cowboys left. If you do, you're in a great spot this week. And then Week 15 is just an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, we're talking. It does not look good.
What are the rules? It's a chop. If 100 people make it to Week 18, everybody gets.
It's a chop with whoever survives.
Right. So if 100 people survive, you would get 10K.
Correct, or whatever, 12K. I think it's like 1.2 some million.
Oh, okay.
Total prize pool.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll see some big ones. That's another thing we can chat about in the offseason is like, hopefully we see like some like multi-million-dollar prize pools. You know, I would love to see like survivors evolve in terms of like you make it to the 1%, you get some money, not just all winner take all. I think that's something that'll be exciting to chat about next year.
I mean, DraftKings didn't even really advertise this, and they still got to 1.2 million. You know, like I didn't even really know about it. Nobody was really like pushing it, and they still got to 1.2 million. I mean, the interest in Survivor is absolutely out of control. I think there's more interest in Survivor than there is even in super contest type stuff. But yeah, okay. Last week I wasn't here. Was it a coincidence or not that the parlay, the pick'em parlay on Underdog hit? And
let's go.
Producer Adam failed, but. Shout out to Andrew Mackins from Underdog in the Discord. Hopefully, if you guys are a subscriber, you are in the Discord. It is a big part of your subscription. There's a lot of actually really sharp people sharing a lot of really good stuff in the Discord, including in the Underdog channel where Andrew Mackins, because this hit, gave out $800, 400 to 2 different people last week. Let's try to keep it going. This is really simple for you guys who haven't played before. It's available in most states, not all states, but most states. You just have to basically do a parlay here of an over, higher or lower on players. Very simple. Mark, I'll give you the honors.
Cool. So this is actually kind of an interesting one because this line isn't up at certain sports books. I was looking to reference it because we come in below it, but it's Christian Kirk under 69.5 receiving yards. We're projecting right around 64 at ETR, and that's a pretty decent gap in this day and age in terms of the props, especially on unders. So as I mentioned, I checked books to see if it was up. It is not currently up on books. So I would expect this line to probably settle around 65, 66, just based on what we have. So yeah, I'm just, you know, the matchup is good for Kirk, and but I do think just based on our numbers, I'm going to go under there.
Okay. Christian Kirk under. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot here. You know, we've been trying to wait as long as possible to bet props, and we haven't bet a lot here. I think that's reflected in the market here. There's definitely a plot of meat on the bone. One that we did take that I'm going to add
Don't
here.
Don't steal mine.
Okay.
I don't think.
I have a lot. So why don't you go first? I have a lot that I could take.
This is maybe my favorite one. So inevitably this will lose, but I think this is like a smash on Underdog. Under 56.5. You're right there. Devin Singletary. I'm taking the under on that rushing and receiving yards prop. I think this is wildly mispriced. You look around the market, you know, you're on Caesars, for example, it's minus 143 on the under 53.5. You see some 50.5, 51.5. This is way too high. You guys have talked a lot about what's happening with this Buffalo running back situation. I mean, they used all 3 backs, and Cook is really starting to come on. And I think Naheem Hines in the passing game is their best option. So my view is Singletary, yeah, you can use him between the tackles around the goal line. He's probably your best option, but Cook's more explosive. And this is a big number for a guy who in theory could be splitting 3 ways.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's a good one. Reminds me of last night when we passed on Kieran Williams under 44.5 rush plus receiving yards, which was a total donkey move. He ended up getting like 4 touches in the game. So bad pass there by us.
Those are the best ones to look at when there's uncertainty around the usage and multiple people competing. And you have injury stuff too. Like there's just a lot of ways that these can go under, especially if the line's not. Market line. I
did want to make one point about rush plus receiving. So it's not, there's more volatility in rush plus receiving, usually towards the over. In other words, if you look at a sports book, typically they'll have a rush line and a receiving line. Those do not add up exactly to the rush plus receiving line because you enter more positive volatility by being able to get there on either, like a fluke play either way. But anyways, I do think Singletary under 56.5 is good. I will stay in this game and I will go with one that we just took officially in props. Underdog has not moved the line yet, and so we'll go Josh Allen over 7 rushing attempts here. I think it's a bigger game than it seems. Bills are out for revenge after losing to the Jets not that long ago. Bills also have not been playing great football, but they still do have a path to the number 1 seed here, and so you also get some kneel down equity. Kneel downs do count as carries. You get some kneel down equity here with the Bills as a 10-point favorite as well. All right. There you have it. Christian Kirk under. Devin Singletary under. Josh Allen over. What could go wrong? Good luck out there to everybody. If you haven't tried Underdog yet, promo code ETR. We'll get you a $100 sign up. $100 up to $100 sign up bonus. Promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. All right. If you're still in Survivor, if you're still live in the Pick'em, if you're still live in Best Ball, if you're still out there grinding your cock, I appreciate you. 4. Peter. 4. Mark. I'm Adam. We'll be back in about 30 minutes with Davidow on YouTube for people that are interested in that. Good luck, everybody.